Ladies and gentlemen, dear members of JCI from all over the world, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from wherever you are following us. Welcome to the monthly Alumni Recognition Program of JCI Africa and the Middle East. My name is Sandra Tinarati Mazafi. I'm a committee member of the 110th JCI anniversary, and it is truly my honor to host this program today. As a reminder, the monthly Alumni Recognition Program is an initiative of JCI Africa and the Middle East aimed to recognize past leaders and preserving their advices and insights for current members of JCI. Before we begin, allow me to introduce our guest of honor. Today, we are privileged to welcome a globally recognized leader in organizational development and leadership training. He has served in JCI at various levels, ultimately leading as the 2016 JCI Board President. He is an accomplished entrepreneur, consultant, and international speaker whose journey has taken him to 83 countries, mentoring and inspiring young leaders worldwide. Beyond JCI, he is the founder of multiple businesses and is deeply committed to youth education and empowerment through the Kids Smile Foundation and the Paschal Dike public speaking competition. With other 16 years of experience in leadership and training, he truly embodies excellence and global impact. President Pascal, it is a pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you for taking the time to join us and share your journey with us. Let's start with your journey in JCI. Can you share your journey with JCI and how you first got involved?
All right. Thank you very much, Sandra. Thank you for that warm introduction and warm welcome. And I really want to thank all those who are behind this initiative to say it's a well thought out initiative. Congratulations, guys. Thank you for this one. Yeah, Sandra, it's a long story. My name is Paschal Dike, and I like to describe myself as a JCI member. And for me, that's the most important. Every other title or position could not have been possible without first being a member. And that member is the highest position in the organization because they own JCI. JCI belongs to them. And your question as to my journey, how I started. Well, I have an elder brother who used to be a JCI member, those days when it was called JCs. But as a young man who was 12, 13 years at the time that I lived with him, I didn't understand what JCI or JCs meant at the time. But I knew that there was one sticker always on the door of his house. And each time they had board meetings in his home, and my job was to go get the soft drinks, make sure his guests feel very good and okay. And then I left him and then I went to the university. So the first year in my university, you can describe me as what is called triangular student, right? So I go from my hostel to the classroom, to the canteen to eat something, and then I go back. And I did that for 1 year from November 1995 to November 1996. That's all I was doing in the university. But before I went to the university, I had a very big challenge, and that challenge had to do with expressing myself freely and communicating with people. So I would rather always wish, that people could come to me. And let me paint this very funny story. Those days as a young boy, you could see a young lady that you truly like, right? And amongst our friends, there were some young guys who could quickly walk up to the lady and just say what they want to say and say, oh, I like you, you're beautiful, your smile, and all of that. But that was something I could never do because I couldn't summon the courage. And I desired to do it, but I could not. And I felt terribly bad because my friends were always nice with ladies, speaking with them, smiling. I would just go to one corner and just be watching what was going on. But one evening in November 1996, I was just walking within the university complex and I saw an old friend I had known in my city before we came to the university. And, he was dressed with tie and jacket and so smartly and beautifully dressed, looking businesslike. And I said to him, his name is Johnson. I said to him, Johnson, what's going on? Why are you dressed so seriously? He said, look, I have a meeting. I said, what meeting? He said, JCs. I said, JCs, I've heard about that before, but what's JC about? He said, well, I don't have the time to tell you. If you want, you can join me to the meeting. I said, no, I have a chain, I have a t-shirt. I cannot go. You are dressed so beautifully. How can I go with you? And, instantly he took me to his room and then borrowed me a jacket and a tie and a shirt. And I put it on my gene, and I went to the meeting with him the same day, right? And then when I got into the meeting, something was very instructive for me. I saw young people who were very well behaved. There was decorum, there was order. You will not speak until you're recognized, and you speak in very humble, respectful manner. There was no noise, and everything was. I said, wow. So there are young people like this who can maintain decorum, who can maintain order, who can speak so respectfully, who have a very good command of English and can communicate effectively. Wow, I fell in love with the organization right at the time. And they were having some discussions about an upcoming convention. So at the end of that, the president of the chapter in my university at the time asked me, "Oh, our new member, what do you have to say?" I said, "Oh, I agree with the last speaker." And everybody, started laughing, and they just turned around and said, "Oh, this must be a very new person." And truly, I was new. I didn't know what to say, how to say it. I was shy. And so the safest way to get out of that question was, I agree with the last speaker. And then if you ask me who was the last speaker, I cannot remember. So I just said that just to get off the hook. And then when the meeting was over, the president walked up to me and asked me if I would like to be a member. And without thinking, I said yes. And there was one reason why I said yes, because I wanted to be able to speak like those young people. I wanted to be able to express myself, dress, smartly, beautifully, neatly, be able to hold my own and without a fear, have the confidence and the courage to stand before people and say what I want to say without any fear of contradiction or any fear of, intimidation. And then on January 11, 1997, the year after, I was welcomed into the JCI family as a student member, right? And that was how my journey started. And you will not believe it. From January 11, 1997 till about May of December 1997, which is a period of about 4 or 5 months, right? I had attended from my university, traveling to cities that were about 300 to 150 kilometers away. I'd attended 4 different JCI national events. Why was that so? Because we had one training about, new members orientation, and we were told, look, you can actually gain a lot of trainings within JCI, from effective communication to negotiations. Our appetite was well weighted. I mean, I felt, oh wow, if these opportunities are there, then I'm willing to invest my time and money to go to wherever to get the training. So I started traveling, attending JCI trainings. There was, I must say, at that point, no intention to hold no position, because I didn't understand what holding the position was. Mine was, how can you get out of this, your state of, how would I put it, introvertness, if you like. Because I felt if young people like me could express themselves, then I can as well do the same. And the only way I could do that was for me to be dedicated to learning, being part of trainings, speaking competitions, debating competitions, projects, and all of that. And just within 5 months, the Paschal that could not summon the courage and the confidence to speak was able to stand before people and started speaking. And the interesting thing is, in that same year, in September, I was elected as local president of my university chapter. That was awesome, right? In less than 10 months, that already happened. And I said to myself, if this is how it is, then there's a lot more for me to learn. And that's how I started moving. And after that, I went on to, the national, where I was responsible for the institutional chapters in the area of JCI Nigeria, what we call now South, South, and Southeast area. And then in 2000 and 2001, I was what we call here the collegiate chairperson, which meant I had to supervise all the institutional, university, and tertiary, JCI chapters in Nigeria. And then after that, Sandra, one interesting thing is I felt I had had enough. So I said to myself, done with JCI. So in 2002, I didn't do anything JCI at all. And that was the only year I did not do anything JCI. I said, I've had enough. I want to focus on my academics, get a good job, and then move on with my life. But 6 months down the line, I realized my life was incomplete. I was not attending JCI meetings. I was not taking trainings anymore. Network was not built anymore. No interaction with most JCI members. And I felt like I was totally isolated. I felt like, my world was coming down, crashing. And I said to myself, I think you need to go back to JCI for you to have your life back. So in March 2003, I joined my current local chapter, JCI Transamadi. And later that year, I was made vice president. And then I served as local president in 2004. Again, in less than 1 year. What was responsible because of my zeal, I love the organization. And when I get into something, I put everything I have in it because I want to do it all my ability and to the best of my capacity and skills, and served as local president in 2004. And then 2005, I was recommended to run for national vice president, which I did. And 2006, I served as JCI Nigeria executive vice president. 2007 was national treasurer. 2008 was national president. And at the end of that national presidency, I was saying, wow, now it's time for me to go back and build my career professionally. But again, some of my mentors said to me, no, that's not enough. We want you to go international. So I went to New Delhi in 2008 and ran for JCI vice president and served as vice president in 2009. And of course, 2010, again, I had no full official responsibility. My interest was getting the Africa Middle East Conference to hold in Abuja. And I was very, very involved. I had to sacrifice certain positions for that to happen because I believed getting the conference to Nigeria for me was more important than any personal position that I could occupy at the time. And then 2011, I was AMDEC chairperson. 2012, I served as JCI executive vice president, in charge of our beautiful area, Africa and the Middle East. And 2013, UN Affairs Commission member. And then 2014, I served as chief executive assistant to my very good friend, President Shai Baskara, and GLC 2015. And with the help support of members and mentors, I served this beautiful organization as 2016 JCI President, crisscrossing 63 countries in 1 year. That could only have happened with an organization like JCI and with the support of members and mentors. So I'll leave it there at the moment, and that's short, what the journey has been within JCI.
Stepping into leadership requires inspiration and a clear vision. What inspired you to take on the role of JCI President, and what was your vision during your tenure?
Okay, thank you. I attended my first area conference in Monastir, Tunisia in 2006. That was the year President Lars was president. But, the way JCI presidents were carried those days, we didn't have the opportunity to interact or meet him or anything. But when we went to Johannesburg, in 2007, JCI Nigeria was putting together a luncheon, and we had invited the JCI president, Scott Greenlee. We had invited the executive vice president, JCI, leaders and all of that. And something was missing. We didn't have someone who had been identified and given the role to MC the luncheon. And my national president, my good friend Jimo Musa Yusuf, said to me, Pascal, you have to be MC. I said, what? Me? MC? The world president is coming? The EVP is coming? No, I don't want to be MC. He said, you have to do the MC. I said, okay. So I went into my room for about 30 minutes. I tried to rehearse on my head. What am I going to say? How am I going to do it? And all of that. And then it was time for the luncheon. And I came in. Sandra, the rest is history. What happened was I got into that place not sure of what I was going to do. I got in there not feeling confident of myself. But 10 minutes into that, Sandra, I was speaking as though I've been emceeing such events for the past 10 years. So it was humorous. I brought in some jokes. I made some connections. I cracked the ribs of the JCI president and all the VIPs. They were all laughing all through. Everything went smoothly and very well. And then at the end, Edson Kodama, who was the JCI Secretary General at the time, came to me and said, "Oh, Oga," which is how we call a boss here in Nigeria. So what a fantastic job you did, young man. Very good job. Very congratulations. I said, oh, wow. So it was good. Really? That's okay. Maybe you have to do more of it. And that's how I started getting involved. emceeing events here in Nigeria, internationally, and meeting the JCI president that year, when I was emceeing, and the fact that I was able to make him laugh, he extended his hand, I had a handshake and all of that, just told me, look, that we are all humans. It doesn't matter where you're coming from, you can become JCI president. But at the time, I didn't have that in my mind, to be honest, to be JCI president. I just said, well, we're all humans. That's how I looked at it. But as I went on, I started studying some individuals within the organization, from here in Nigeria to our area in Africa and the Middle East and then globally. And I saw how they were motivating members. I saw the energy. I saw their dedication and their passion for JCI. And I said, for me, if I have the opportunity, I want to feel the same thing. I want to motivate our members. I want to be able to serve and give my best. And that's how that responsibility to go on into my career started. And Sandra, the interesting thing is, for each of the positions I had in JCI, I have people who came to me and said, Pascal, I think you've done well in the previous one. We want you to try again, right? And with such kind of confidence, with that kind of approval, if you like, I had no choice than to say I'm ready to serve again. And that's how my journey started. And what's some of the impacts? I'm sure probably we'll have more time to talk about some of the things I did as JCI president. But I want to tell you that it was within JCI that I understand what the sense of humility is. That it doesn't matter who you are, the title. Being humble is very important. Number two, you build friendship and networks globally, right? Whether you're white, black, it doesn't matter what faith you profess, it doesn't matter who you look like and what you look like, it's not important. What binds us is humanity. So I started understanding that it is humanity before everything else. Humanity before race, humanity before religion, humanity before your country, humanity before geographical delineations and all of that. And that's how I started building that friendship. And so for me, that friendship and the fact that I was part of quite a lot of projects within the organization, was very, very important for me. From the 100-year anniversary of Impact, where we, reached out to leaders around the world, both nonprofit, political, and business leaders, to align with JCI mission and vision at the time, for me was really great. And it's something I'm very proud of, that we had the opportunity to serve. And we did our best within the time.
Every leader has a defining moment or achievement that stays with them. So looking back at your presidency, what is the most memorable achievements or projects?
And thank you. Of course, there's one that resonates with me amongst a lot of other things that we did. And you know why that continues to resonate with me? First, I must acknowledge and respect the fact that JCI is a global organization. We are democratic, and each president will come and go, and every president has his time. That's very important. And we must respect that. And that's why once you're done as president, you need to get out of the way for the next president to run his show and all of that. But I'm proud, very, very proud, super proud, and with what we did and accomplished with the Peace is Possible campaign that we ran globally. I went around the world asking presidents of country, business leaders, UN Secretary General, we went to the ICC, we went to business angels forum all over the world, asking them to commit to living lives that promote peace, to commit that they will use their positions to promote peace, to commit that everything they do every day in their life will be one that will showcase to the world that they are people of peace. Because peace only starts with each individual person. And if all of us individuals will understand our role and what we should do to ensure peace, then we can have a better world. And I'm super proud that I was living witness to a lot of projects run around the world, in line with the Peace is Possible campaign and the impact that they created, because the reports were sent in, and we saw all of that. So if Sandra, amongst a lot of other things that we did, one that I am very, very proud of is the Peace is Possible campaign. And if you look at what is happening around the world today, you will agree that that campaign was timely, it was appropriate, and it was a well thought out decision, and there could not have been a better time to do it, right? And if you go back to the words of our founder, Henry Gessenberg, when he started the organization, he said, from within the walls of the soul of this organization, wherein the foundation for citizenship and character are laid, I hope a message will come in the sometime of tomorrow that will steer the people towards the establishment of a permanent and everlasting world peace. So JCI is about leadership, it's about grooming leaders. But why are we grooming leaders? Leaders who will go there and live and contribute to world peace. That's what it's about. That every action of ours, the way we live, the projects we do, must all have a connection to peace. And that is something I'm very proud of. And I've learned quite a lot, that everywhere I find myself, I have decided that I'll be a peacemaker. It doesn't matter what the situation is. And when you are, you live a peaceful life, and whether you like it or not, even though we feel uncomfortable with things happening around the world, but the question we keep asking is, what is our own contribution, right from our families, to our streets where we live, to our cities, to our countries, in social organization where we live? What are our contributions towards making the world a more peaceful place? So for me, Peace is Possible was big and huge, and I can assure you that I was really, really proud, and I'm happy that I did initiate that project, and JCI did endorse it at the time.
JCI is known for its ability to transform individuals into impactful leaders. How did your experience in JCI shape your personal and professional growth?
So another beautiful question. And to be honest, it hasn't stopped shaping it, because I'm still a JCI member, even though I'm well over 40. But I tell people that I sleep and wake up every day with JCI in my head, right? JCI flows in my vein, it's in my blood, it's in everything that I do, in my thinking, in my speaking, in my behavior, you'll find JCI. And that's going to be so for the rest of my life. That's the truth. I cannot detach myself from JCI. And asking how that has impacted me. The truth is, and I can say it, that I cannot imagine what I would have become today without first God Almighty, because I'm a person of faith, but secondly with JCI, right? Sandra, even something as beautiful as my wife, I met in JCI. So that tells you the gifts, that JCI has presented to me. And that's why I'm so committed to the organization. Now, impactful leadership. You must understand, for me, leadership is about responsibility and influence. And one way that JCI transformed me to an impactful leader is it made me understand that I have to take responsibility. I cannot live on excuses, right? Now, whatever I find in a position, whether it is local president, whether it is national or JCI president, do not complain. You accept it as it is. One thing that leaders must understand is that leaders should never wish or pray that challenges do not come. Now, challenges must come. It doesn't matter how much you try to wish them away. But the leader must develop the capacity to deal with the challenges, because when you deal with one challenge, another one will show up. You deal with that, another one shows up. You deal with another one. So challenges will continue to come because challenges define leadership. All right. And each challenge that you take care of, you become a stronger leader, a more responsible leader, and a more influential leader. And that's what JCI has taught me. And today I can say with all sense of humility, I have a lot of young people whose life and career has been affected because they have got in touch with me. The same way my own life and career was also affected by others. And so what am I doing? I keep pointing young people to the right direction, the direction of JCI, and also encouraging those who want to become entrepreneurs to truly, rise up and face the challenges of entrepreneurship, because that is what defines true leadership. And so, yeah, for me, I am who I am today because JCI contributed a lot to it. And professionally, because you did ask, I am involved, in 3 businesses directly and 2 others indirectly. And the 3 of those businesses somehow have JCI connection in it. And so part of what JCI helped me do was to build network. And within those networks, we're able to identify people who have common interests in areas of businesses. And right after the JCI presidency, we decided to look at those opportunities and see how we can, use those to build bridges in terms of business, internationally. And that is working today. So professionally, JCI has made a lot of contribution to where I am today.
JCI's impact extends beyond personal growth. It creates ripple effects that influence young leaders and communities. Let's talk about your leadership legacy. Throughout your tenure, you interacted with and influenced many young leaders. How did your leadership impact young leaders within JCI in Africa and the Middle East?
Thank you again, Sandra. This for me, it's very, very personal, I would say, and I'll tell you why it is personal. Because of my background, where I'm coming from, it was almost impossible for a young Nigerian from a little village in Southeast Nigeria to dream to become JCI president. It was difficult for such a young person to even dream of becoming, a global leader who can stand on the global stage. But when that opportunity came and it happened, I have consistently told young persons that it doesn't matter where you are, you can become what you want to be. And I say this all the time because I believe that the circumstance of your birth or even circumstance of your education or your country should never define who you become, right? You are the one who should define who you become. So what you become in life is dependent on you and not the environment. And I keep asking that question. Even in the most difficult environment, there are a few persons, whether they're 1 or 2% of the population, who are thriving and succeeding. We can all work our ways to find ourselves in that little space where we can also succeed. And I can say it proudly because I've traveled around Africa and the Middle East, training young people, leading, academies and trainings. I have today, I'm coaching some persons in public speaking within the organization. I have a public speaking competition that is in my name for young secondary school students here in Lagos. And I have spoken to JCI and non-JCI audiences around the world. I've shared videos of those sessions with a lot of young people. And young people have come to me who have, challenges in their businesses or who wants to be able to navigate their career within JCI and business. They're all coming to me and I am sharing from my experiences with them. And I can proudly say that some of them today are thriving and they are succeeding. And when I look back to those years when they came to me and we had conversations, I cannot but thank JCI and the network that we have within the organization. And, I tell people, Sandra, I have not taken any formal education or formal lesson in communication. Everything I've learned in communication is from JCI and personal researches, practices, and rehearsals. And I have transferred and continue to transfer the same knowledge to our JCI members in Africa and the Middle East. And that's why when I'm invited by any national organization or even our area to either head a training or be part of any section, I cannot shy away from it because this is our area, and I owe it a duty to continue to support it, support our young members, and for as long as we have breath, and for as long as our health allows us. So yes, I'm in that, and I continue to do it. There's almost no week that passes without me having 1 or 2 or 3 JCI contacts from all over the world, particularly Africa and the Middle East. And I respond to them because I say it's as a duty. Like I said before, leadership is about responsibility and influence. So I must first take responsibility that I am a leader within JCI, but I must also be able to influence these young people positively so they can be on the right path, whether it is building their career within JCI or they want to build their career professionally outside JCI. Either way, I am committed to supporting the area as much as possible.
JCI has launched many impactful initiatives. Which JCI initiatives or programs are you most proud of? And how do you see their lasting impact today?
Sandra, JCI have launched a lot of initiatives, and I suppose you're asking about current initiatives. Are you talking about past initiatives? Are we talking about current?
One of them, any of them.
Any of them. Okay. Many years ago, there was this Operation Brotherhood that JCI launched, which I stumbled on a document around it. And Sandra, I almost broke down in tears because it told me how impactful JCI has been for many, many years. Where JCI had to coordinate efforts, with support of the government of the Philippines at the time, to fly aircraft to war-torn countries and be able to support those who are wounded individuals, non-military persons who were wounded, and provide them support and all of that. And for me, that was huge, great impact that we are not making noise about, but I think something that should be properly documented and shown to the world. That's number one. Number two, in response to the COVID-19, the RISE initiative, came to being. And even though personally, to be honest, I don't think most of our members took advantage of it as much as it was a fantastic initiative. But most of our members did not take advantage of that opportunity, to really get out of the pains and the drawbacks and the challenges of COVID and rebuild themselves and their businesses. But that was one huge initiative that I applaud so much. And I believe that JCI was very proactive and responded adequately, to the menace and the challenges of COVID in order to help our members and those who are connected with us one way or the other to rebuild their lives, rebuild their businesses, be able to pick up the pieces again, and then continue to live their lives normally. So I think the RISE initiative was a fantastic, considered project that I think, because it's still running, our members should look more into it and take advantage of it, because in some countries, Sandra, the effect of COVID is still there. There are people who lost their businesses, they've not been able to get it up. There are people who lost loved ones, they've not been able to get out of it. Some people are still struggling, as a result of, the negative effects of the COVID. And I think JCI RISE is still very relevant today.
Networking is one of the strongest assets of JCI. Beyond your presidency, how did JCI help you to build valuable networks and relationships?
Wow, Sandra, this for me is one of the biggest gifts that JCI can give to any young boy, any young girl, any young man, young woman. Just to put in proper context before I answer that question, Sandra, today I see people who want to travel from Nigeria to some parts of Europe, the Americas, or Asia, or even some parts of Africa, and they just call me and say, Paschal. And some of these are non-JCI members, non-JCI members. They say, Paschal, we know you travel the world, you have a lot of people. I'm traveling. Can you give me somebody who can come pick me at the airport and all of that? I said, what country? He says, okay. And Sandra, I can tell you 7 out of those requests, I have people that I can refer. One beautiful thing that this organization does for people is that network that is very huge. And I can sit here comfortably, so I can tell you that I know people, their names, I've met them, we have exchanged presently, we've shaken hands, taken a hug, had some pecs and all of that. In 97 countries, I know them by name. I've met them. I remember them right on my head. That is unbelievable. That is unbelievable. It's a network you cannot joke with. and therefore I have friends across the world. From places like Korea to Japan, to South Africa, to Tunisia, to Madagascar. Sandra, I've known you for many years, for example, right? And then you go to the US, go to Antigua and Barbuda, to West Indies, if you like, you go to Belgium, to Germany, to France, all over the world, all over the world. And these are not just people that you just met at JCI conferences. You visited their countries. Some of them, you've gone to their homes, you've gone to their businesses, their families, what businesses they are doing. And now the question is, how am I using this network? Sandra, as I speak to you, part of what I'm committed and dedicated to doing is using the network to help some young people. As I speak to you today, we have been able to support some young people to travel to different parts of the world to train in specific areas of their endeavor, whether it's ICT, whether it's engineering, whether it's robotics, whether they want to even train on entrepreneurship. I am using that network with my friends all over the world to encourage young Nigerians today to be able to go there to train and come back and be useful to their families, to their friends, and to this country. And that is the power of network. And it's something I want to do more. And I want to do more of that, extend it beyond Nigeria and go into Africa and the Middle East and say, are there young people who have desires to go to certain countries to do specific things genuinely? And I mean genuinely. And we can work with those people to help them to go to those places. So I'm a living example. I have quite a number of them. I don't want to say where they are and what they're doing, but some of my friends in Nigeria know that this is already happening. And through that network, we are supporting people to go there. And then they're coming back. And I'm pointing them to JCI. I said, look, I got this network through JCI. Now that you're going to come back, you have to become a member of JCI. Yes, not all of them will join, but some of them are joining. Where they're not joining, they are associated with JCI. And for me, that's the beauty. Using the network to help young people and then be able to convince them to see the reason to join the organization. And that network is huge. And I encourage every young JCI member to think that way. Build your network intentionally while you are still there, so that by the time you cross 40, you can look back and say, I have friends and families all over the world. I can go anywhere, feel welcome. I can also refer people to different countries, and they can be welcomed and made to feel at home. That's the beauty of JCI.
JCI remains relevant today because of its ability to attract and empower young professionals. Let's explore why JCI continues to be a game changer for young worldwide. In today's fast-changing world, young professionals seek platforms that provide opportunities for growth and leadership. Professionals should join JCI today.
Okay, Sandra, the last part of the question I didn't get. Did you say why should professionals join JCI today?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, Sandra, the world is changing and the world is evolving. And for every organization to survive, you must evolve alongside the world, right? While there are things that are very traditional to us, and those are fundamental, because that's how the founders of JCI has put it. There are things that we can actually, change as the world evolves. The big question is how attractive are our programs, our projects, our events to young people. Is it flexible enough? Is it something that young people can actually choose what they want and what they don't want? Because today that's what the world is, right? If I'm going to a JCI conference, for example, and I see that conference promoted and advertised, and I see the programs, and the schedule, I need to ask myself, why am I packing my bag from Lagos, Nigeria? I'm flying, to Durban, South Africa in May to attend Africa Middle East Conference. So I have to identify the things that I want to do, trainings to take, businesses to discuss, activities to get involved in. And so for young people today, it is important for them to understand that it doesn't matter where you are, whether you are 100 years old or 70, whether you're 30, even whether you're 20, building network around the world is what every young person desires. There's no young person who will not want to attend an event where there's a huge opportunity to build network across board. Therefore, I'm saying to young people who probably will be watching or listening to this, that JCI is the right place to build that network, because JCI is fundamentally for young people between 18 and 40, and this is the most active age. And this is the time when you have to build a network. The first stanza of our creed says the brotherhood of man transcends the sovereignty of nation. It means that JCI does not recognize physical borders, restrictive borders. But JCI looks at humanity and says, as long as you are human and as long as you are willing to connect and work with us to achieve the bigger goals for ourselves and for the world, then there is no boundary. There's no black or white. There is no faith, so to say. There is no border preventing us from doing what we want to do, and that's what JCI says. And if that is correct, therefore, young people should take advantage of the huge network that is within JCI, right, to build friendship. And I am a living example, the friendship that I have built, and I continue to build, right? And some have translated into, businesses, some great friendship, some have even turned to huge resource, where if I need something from any part of the country, and I just get a JCI member to go to the company to go and check to be sure that what I'm asking for is what I'm getting. So it's a lot easier. And young people today must understand that within JCI, we build, help people develop entrepreneurial, mindset, leadership skills, those skills that can help you overcome challenges. We also train people if you want to become professional trainers, but we also engage our young people to identify challenges in their communities, apply their leadership skills to develop projects to address them, deploy them, assess them, and be able to come up with results and say, we did it and we're able to solve a problem. And therefore, that's why I believe that young people should join. And I'm encouraging young people, wherever they are, to find the nearest local organization and join. And if you are not too sure, just go to JCI website and be able to send a message to someone anywhere in the world. You'll get a response and you can join this beautiful organization.
Even after holding the highest leadership role in JCI, the experience continues to shape lives. How has your experience continued to influence your life and career after your presidency?
Thank you, Sandra. As you know, since 2018 or 2018, I have had the honor of serving as course leader for JCI Academy in Japan. Again, Sandra, that's one humbling experience, because not in my wildest imagination did I ever think that I was going to serve as course leader, not in my wildest imagination. And therefore, when the opportunity came, the question I had to ask myself was, what do you really have that you have to give? Are you really prepared? Because your duty will be to prepare future leaders of JCI in their countries and some locals, in Japan. And I said to myself, one way to do this is to give in yourself, pour yourself out, give your best and everything you need to do to ensure that these people who will lead JCI in their countries in the future can have, the right opportunity to share, to cross with ideas, to be empowered, but given a reason to serve truly as leaders. And for me, that is one huge contribution, something I do not take lightly, and one that I thank JCI for, and for all those who are responsible for making it happen. And so for me, that's one huge platform that I have continued to use to express not just myself, what JCI can do, but also be able to share my journey, my experience, and then encourage and guide our future leaders to look into the future, to be proactive and prepare themselves for future leadership. And that's one way that's done. And each time I get ready, I'm prepared to go to Japan to run that academy, some kind of inspiration comes to my head, and I go back to think about when I first went to Japan as a participant at the academy in 2007 in Morioka, and up to when I went there as a candidate for JCI President, and then went as President, and then went as Assistant Trainer in 2017, and then I now have responsibility to be leading the academy as course leader. So that is hugely important. I see that's a huge platform. And one thing I have said all the time is when you train people, you learn. So each year when I go there to run the academy, I come back better than I went. There are some lessons because the people in the room are not less important. Some of them are CEOs of companies. Some of them have taken different courses all over the world. So they are not novices. They are not newbies. And therefore, when you exchange ideas with them, there's something you have to learn, and you continue to build that friendship. And so that's one way that has happened for me. And I have continued to make myself available to run courses within JCI, whether from local chapters to national to regional, even globally, as long as my schedule permits. Even when it doesn't permit, I create this time to be able to do that because I believe that then we should prioritize JCI when it comes to preparing our leaders and building them for the future. And therefore, that's what I continue to do. And that has shaped me a lot. And Sandra, I can tell you confidently, without any fear of contradiction, there are a lot of young people, I believe, today, and I say that with all sense of humility, who have learned from me, right? Who each time I'm done with any particular training, they come back to me and say, look, we love the way you did it. We want you to mentor us, or want you to, have another section with us. I want to keep coming back to you so we can learn. And when I go into some trainings, even outside JCI here in Nigeria, for business trainings, I take a few JCI members to come and learn them. So they sit in the room, they see how the things are done. And after that, they start assisting in the training. That is how we have to encourage and help young people to shape their future and be the best that they can be. And as long as, like I said, we have life, we have breath, we'll continue to do that for JCI and for the world.
So the next question is already answered, but we're going just to emphasize on it. So as an advocate for leadership development, do you actively refer young leaders to JCI? If so, what motivates you to do so?
Wow. Let me start from the last part, the motivation why I do so. The answer as to whether I do so, I do that at every opportunity I have, because it's impossible for me to walk into any meeting, even if it's not JCI, without saying I'm JCI member. And sometimes when I don't say it, people come back to ask, well, you did this so beautifully. Where did you learn it? That's an opportunity to talk about JCI. Come on, right? And I say it proudly. So why do I point young people to JCI? Why do I refer them to JCI? Sandra, I am an example. I grew up in a village where there were no opportunities at all. Attending primary school 6 years, on my bare foot, and changing my school uniform only twice in 6 years. Right? The place where I have to go to the bush to get firewood to prepare food. I have to go to the stream with a bowl on my head to go get water, take the uniforms and close to the stream, where you have to walk like 1 hour plus to go to the stream, and they come back 1 hour. And then, I lived in a place for nearly 12 years without electricity. We didn't know what that was. The roads were not tarred. We only had bush paths to walk around in my village. So for me, when I was in my village, that village for me was my New York, it was my Tokyo, it was my Johannesburg. It was whatever you want to call it, because I didn't know those places existed. So for me, beautiful place at that time was my village, even though most people would disagree. Why do I refer young people to JCI? It's because I have seen the transformational power of the organization. I have seen the transformational power of JCI. I have seen that if you truly get into JCI, you are committed to it, you will be transformed without any doubt whatsoever. If I could be, anybody can be. Anybody can be. So when I see young people, I want them to get better. I want them to build network. I want them to be confident on themselves. I want them to look at what they are experiencing now and say, my name is not impossibility. My name is possibility. And for you to say that, you need a platform that will encourage you. JCI is that platform will tell you, look, if you have never run a project before, we can put you in a committee and you learn it. If you've never been able to speak to a large audience before and convince them, we can help you do it. If you've never walked in a room to train people and they believe and trust you, JCI can do that. If you've never run a successful meeting before, you can learn to run successful meetings when you go through JCI. And if you think that even running a business is so difficult, there are opportunities in JCI that you can try your hands on and then learn how to run businesses. What is it? What is it that you cannot find within the organization? So why would I not be proud to point young people to JCI? I do that all the time and I continue to do it. And in fact, with this section again, I'm further motivated to do it even more, because we need more young people to join JCI so they can contribute meaningfully to their families, to their cities, to their countries, and they can become positive global citizens that create positive impact through leadership. And that's why I continue to do that, because I am an example. That's where I'm coming from. And I want every young person to experience that also.
Finally, leadership is about inspiring others to take action. What message would you like to share with current JCI members to encourage them to take on leadership roles?
Thank you. I want to say to my friends and my colleagues, fellow JCI members, because like I said before, the member is the most important position because they own the organization. And I've seen people who join JCI 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and there's no transformational change in their lives. It means they're not involved yet. I say this to every JCI member. For you to get a return on your investment, you must first invest. An investment in JCI is not about money. I'm not talking money. I'm talking about commitment. I'm talking about dedication. I'm talking about rolling the sleeves and stepping up and saying, I want to serve. That's critically important, right? And then when you're given a role or responsibility, do it with all your ability, with all your might, and do it like that is the only chance you have. One thing I have done, and I want to recommend it, is when I have an opportunity to hold a position, I assume it in my head that that is going to be the last one. So if it's going to be the last one, why don't you do it so well that people will not forget you? But you know, the beautiful thing is when you think that is the last one and do it as though it's the last one, someone from the corner said, no, that's not the last one. You've done so great, you're going to do another one. And that's how you get climbing. You do not get to positions by how loud you are. You earn it. And earning the position is doing great and well in what you have been given to do. And so for every JCI member out there, I'm saying whether you're an ordinary member in your chapter, ask yourself the question, what is my contribution? What will the members of my chapter say my contribution has been? If you are a commission or committee member, how are you contributing to the success of the committee? If you're leading a project, what's your contribution? If you are a chapter president or in leadership in the chapter, what is the state of a chapter now versus where it was before you came in? If there's no difference, you've been wasting your time, because every leader must leave an impact. And if you cannot move the state of your chapter or your organization from point A where it is to B, then you are not leading. I challenge young people today to please get involved, because when we get involved, there's nothing we cannot do. And let me say this is a quote from an anonymous. It says, no man, no woman has any right to come into this world and enjoy all the beautiful things without justifying the reason to have come in the first place. You know, we are all born into this world for a purpose. Every one of us came here with something, you know, with a mission. Now, what does it profit any man, any woman, any boy, any girl to live, enjoy everything, and then you leave by way of death? And 10 years, 20 years later, nobody remembers. Every person living must strive to leave a legacy, must work hard to leave something behind that will outlive you. And that's why today the world still talks about Martin Luther King. Why? How many years ago when he died? The world still talking about Nelson Mandela. Why? He's been there many years ago that he died. The world still talks about Mahatma Gandhi. Why? I'm just using this as an example to say that it's not how long you live. Martin Luther King died as a young person, I think before he was 40. But the most important thing is how well you live. So let's take every moment as though it is our last. But I can assure you that we will live longer to do great things for JCI, for our lives, and for the world. And we will be remembered for it. And therefore, child, young people, make the best out of your life. Stop thinking too much. Start feeling. When you feel, you act. And if you have any reason not to act, look at all the challenges in the world, the challenges in your country. Look at people around you who are not as good as you are. That's enough reason for you to want to act. Because if you don't act to make them better today, tomorrow, they might become your biggest challenge. Do you want that to happen? I believe the answer is no. So let's work together to make JCI better and make the world better. Thank you.
President Paschal Dike, thank you very much for sharing your invaluable insights and experiences with us. Your journey is truly inspiring, and your contribution to JCI and leadership development globally continues to make a lasting impact. To all our viewers, we hope that this session has been enriching and motivating. The monthly Alumni Recognition Program by JCI Africa and the Middle East will continue to bring you inspiring stories of past JCI leaders who have shaped the future of our organization. Stay connected, stay engaged, and just continue, as our President Paschal Dike likes to say, just act. And see you to the next session. Thank you.